Imagine checking your mailbox or bank account and finding a fresh new payment waiting for you. Not a vague promise or rumor, but an actual stimulus style check funded by money already collected by the government. That's not some future fantasy. It's something now officially proposed in the Senate. And yes, it has the potential to include everyone on fixed income programs like Social Security, SSDI, SSI, and VA benefits. You could be entitled to hundreds of dollars from revenue the government is already sitting on. That is what we're unpacking right now. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly who qualifies, how much money is on the table, and what steps come next. This matters most if you are one of the millions of Americans living on a fixed income, especially those depending on Social Security benefits to keep the lights on and food on the table. Maybe you've been left out of other support programs or forgotten in recent legislation. This time, you are very much included if this passes as written. The details make it clear this is not limited to workers or taxpayers. It's a refundable credit, and that word matters a lot. It means you could qualify even with zero income. This is for you. So, why should you keep watching? Because this new legislation is tied directly to money the government is already collecting right now, tariff revenue that is piling up quickly. That money is not hypothetical, it is real and sitting in government hands. This isn't about some future stimulus that may or may not happen based on economic conditions. This proposal lays out a $600 minimum payment per adult and $600 per dependent with clearly defined income thresholds. I'll explain how this could be passed quickly, how it compares to past checks, and what kind of timeline we're looking at. Stay with me, and you'll leave with answers, not just hopes. And while you're here, if you care about staying ahead of these developments, make sure you're subscribed. This kind of information can change fast, and when it does, you'll want to be the first to know. It only takes a second, and it could make a big difference for you and your family. Now, let's walk through what this new proposal really is. Republican Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri has formally introduced legislation in the Senate to send out what's being called a rebate check. But the mechanics of it are no different from the three stimulus checks Americans received in 2020 and 2021. It's structured as a refundable tax credit, which means even if you owe nothing in taxes or earn no income at all, the payment still comes to you. It's not just a deduction or a break, it's real money back in your hands. The amount listed in the bill is a minimum of $600 per adult and $600 per dependent. Those with incomes below $75,000 individually or $150,000 as a couple would qualify in full. After that point, payments begin to phase out by 5% for each additional $1,000 of income. For example, if you earn $76,000 as a single filer, you'd get slightly less than the full amount. That gradual reduction continues until it phases out completely. This structure mirrors the original three pandemic era checks and was chosen to reach the widest audience possible. Importantly, this proposal does not limit payments to working individuals. Even though early news coverage used the term working Americans, the actual legislative text confirms this is a refundable credit, meaning your work status does not matter. If you're retired disabled, receiving SSISSDI or VA benefits, and you meet the income criteria, you qualify. There is no need to have filed a tax return or shown earnings in the past year. The refundable credit design ensures inclusion. From a policy standpoint, this idea is grounded in a clear revenue source. The money would come from tariffs collected on imported goods. According to recent federal data, over $100 billion has already been collected this year alone, and the total is projected to reach $300 billion annually. Rather than letting that money disappear into general funds, this proposal aims to send a portion directly back to American households as a kind of profit sharing or cost offset. The logic is simple. Higher tariffs raise prices at the store. So the government gives some of that extra revenue back to the people bearing the burden. For real people, that could mean groceries this month paid for, gas in the car, medicine refilled. Especially if you're on a fixed income, $600 can stretch a long way. Even if it doesn't solve every problem, it can be a lifeline in a time of record high costs. And because the payment would be per adult and per dependent, a household of four could receive $2,400. That's not pocket change. For some, it might mean catching up on rent or avoiding a utility shutoff. For others, it might be their first financial relief in years. There's a lot of confusion online about who this applies to and what the term rebate really means. To be clear, the check would come to you even if you don't usually file taxes. You would not need to owe anything or be employed. The word rebate is simply being used for branding. The structure of the bill is stimulus check for and everything but name. Also important, the bill has already been introduced. This is not a vague promise or a potential draft. Senator Hawley formally filed it in the Senate just days after first announcing his intent. That kind of follow through is rare and worth acknowledging. Now let's break down the broader picture. Why is this happening now, and what might stand in the way? For one, this comes as part of a larger debate in Congress around tariffs, the economy, and how to support Americans facing inflation. With prices still high, despite recent cooling inflation, data politicians are under pressure to deliver direct help. This proposal leverages the tariffs, which are politically popular, and turns that into tangible aid without increasing deficits. That gives it a strategic advantage over broader stimulus packages. At the same time, there are multiple pathways for passing this. It could be included in an upcoming reconciliation bill as early as September. It could be attached to the 2026 federal budget, or it could pass as a standalone measure. Each option has different timelines, but all are feasible. With strong enough support, it could move quickly. But as always, it depends on lawmakers. The good news is, Hawley has already demonstrated urgency. He promised to introduce it, and within days, he delivered. Looking forward, the implications of this are big. If this passes, it sets a new precedent for how tariff revenue can be used. Instead of going toward debt payments or defense budgets, it would go back into people's pockets. That creates a feedback loop that makes future payments more politically viable. And if inflation continues or tariffs increase, that could mean even larger rebates down the road. Already there is talk among other lawmakers of increasing the amount or modifying the thresholds. So this might just be the beginning. Now, just to zoom out a bit and put this all in perspective, think about what this means long term. If lawmakers finally agree that tariff revenue should go back to the people, then we're not just talking about a one time check. We're talking about a potential model that could be used again and again, especially during times of inflation, crisis, or even surplus. And if the system proves popular with voters, you can bet more senators and representatives will want their names attached to future versions of this idea. That's how these things snowball. What starts as a single $600 check could grow into something more sustained, more reliable, and more helpful for those who need it most. So stay alert, stay informed, and most importantly, stay vocal. Because the more people speak up about what they want from this kind of rebate system, the more likely it is to take root and grow. To recap, this proposal is officially on the table. It includes a minimum of $600 per adult and dependent. It covers most Americans below specific income thresholds. And crucially, it does not exclude those on Social Security SSDI, SSI, or VA benefits. The funding would come from existing tariff revenue, which means no new taxes or borrowing. The next steps are legislative, and while nothing is guaranteed, the structure of the bill and its funding mechanism give it a solid chance at passage. If you found this valuable, take a second to subscribe or leave a comment. I want to hear from you. Do you think 600 is enough? Should it be higher? Would you support this kind of targeted rebate over other types of relief? Drop your thoughts, and I'll be reading through as many as I can. We're all in this together, and the more informed we are, the better we can advocate for ourselves